And this week, the best things about the updated Kia Seltos. The first comment I want to make about the Kia Seltos is that it still looks brilliant years after its release. This is the very base model, and I've got to tell you, it doesn't actually look like a base model, not even from the inside. They all have this impressively aggressive front end, very, very square, and it's got this lovely kind of ridged effect, though it's all plastic. From the side, I defy you to pick the difference between this and the top models. The wheels are different, they're a little smaller, but you can't tell. The only difference that there is, and this is kind of a shock for someone that's now used to the touch door handles, is you've got to use the key fob to get in. And likewise, when you're around the back, you need the key fob to get in if it's locked. But you know what, I don't really mind, it's just something you have to get used to. Inside, it's nice and spacious, and a spare thank you very much. There's updates for this car, there's USBs in the back and vents and so forth. Look at this, a digital dash in a base model car for under $30,000. It is the slightly smaller 10.25 inch screen, but it looks exactly the same as its 12.3 inch sister. So let's go into CarPlay. By the way, let me just quickly show you what this looks like normally. That's the normal inbuilt system, which, by the way, still has navigation. There's one thing I want to show you though. Have a look at this. I'm going to go into here. Now, this is what I have to do every time I get in the car. See this speed limit? I'm not going to turn the system off, but that's what I've been doing every time I get in the car. Now, apparently, according to the Hyundai Group, this is required for 2023 Euro NCAP, which of course shares its criteria with the Australian ANCAP system. In there are a selection of things that you can select from. So this is your driver attention warning and driver safety and safety aids and convenience aids. These speed limit assist and speed limit warning are always on. Every time you go over the speed limit, it bongs you. Every time there's a speed limit change, it bongs you. When there's a car in front that moves off, it bongs you. I turn all those things on. I don't want any of that happening while I'm trying to concentrate on the road. Thanks very much. So I turn it off, and I have to do that every time I get in the car because it resets itself. However, I'm going to leave it on, and I'm going to show you why. For a start, those systems are very rarely, I've just gone back into CarPlay, those systems are very rarely accurate. And by that I mean that either the speed limit is wrong, or, for example, you've gone into a school zone and it doesn't recognize that it's not a school day or it's not in the school zone hours. Drives me to distraction. The instruments are laid out exactly the same way as previously. They haven't changed this from launch. The only thing is, this does have almost the full set of driver aids. So it's got blind spot monitor and lane control, lane centering, lane departure. It's also got cruise control, but the cruise control isn't active. And by that I mean it doesn't slow down when you get to a car in front. You've got to remember to do that yourself. Right, so one thing that I didn't go through was that all of the range has a two-wheel drive option, and that's the front wheels, and it's driven by a 2-litre motor and this CVT. And Kia knows I really hate CVTs. Every car company knows I loathe CVTs. Any driver hates CVTs. But there are some people that aren't drivers, they're just transport operators, and they don't care. Now you can hear that the CVT imitated a regular automatic gearbox by stepping down its ratios or stepping up its ratios. Now, if a gearbox is going to do that, why not just put an automatic in? I want to touch on the steering in this model. Now remember, the all-wheel drive models have a 1.6 turbo and an 8-speed automatic. But this 2-litre engine is actually still okay. Let's get on to the handling of this. This is a Graham Gambold tuned car. Okay, that's the speed limit changing. So it changed and then flashed, but still didn't tell me that that's why I was getting a bing. So every time there's a change, every time you go over, even if it's the wrong speed, even if it's showing the wrong speed, it bongs at you. We'll see how you like it after 10 minutes. Back to the handling. Graham Gambold has tuned this car. It's now 80. Case in point. So that was it changing the speed limit. The loud bong was that I was going over the speed limit, even though it was in an 80 zone. And the little bong was it changing speed limit on the dashboard. Now, back to Graham Gambold. He is a sporting man of a sporting bent, and he's Kia's tuning man. They get him in to do all of their models, and the only time that changed was during COVID, when it was difficult for him to travel. And Graham has a tendency to tune the suspension of cars to a sportier ride and handling. And at that, he is brilliant. Kia give him a list of things that he can have, and he will go, yes, I'll have that, thank you very much. Some of the other things that are new for this car are the connected services. So up here you can see an SOS button and a Kia connected button. That's part of the over-the-air updates. So all of the cars that have over-the-air updates also have that annoying speed sign recognition system. Now you see this is bonging at me now. I'm on the freeway and it's 110 zone, but because it's still 80, now it's 110. That little bing was 110. So it was wrong. It was wrong, but it was telling me I was wrong. If you can't rely on a system 100% of the time, what good is it? One thing that I've noticed the Koreans do really, really well is this lane keep assist. It is brilliant. Now, it's bonging me, but I've got the car is supposed to be keeping its own speed. I've got it set at the right one. Dear God in heaven. So you can see now why I turned that system off, and in town it's even worse. So I can't stand this anymore. No, I'm sorry Roland, I can't stand it. I've turned it off or I'm going to go completely mad. Now we're back in town. I've activated or reactivated the system. Now here's the interesting thing. This is telling me it's 50 kilometers an hour. The speed sign recognition is telling me it's 40 kilometers an hour. And I've just entered a 40 kilometer an hour area and I'm doing 40 kilometers an hour. So I can expect a bing every time it changes. So it should bing now. So it's gone from 40 to 50. That's still showing 50, so Google Maps is still showing. It really is just a bit of a disaster. But anyway, I'm going to let that bing and bong while I sum up the Kia Seltos S. And I think in every way possible, this Kia Seltos is an extremely well-built car. It's got a 7-year warranty. And that's thanks to Damien Meredith, the COO of Kia Australia. It's beautifully laid out, and even this base model has a fully digital screen. Now, okay, yes, it's a smaller screen than the big sisters, but I don't think that matters for our purposes. This 2-litre engine feels like it has plenty of pep. The CVT I don't like. The ride I do like. Very, very much. The cabin is lovely and quiet. The audio system is adequate for an entry-level car. It is beautiful in traffic. It is easy to park. It's got a bunch of room in the back. The space is all easily usable, and when the seats go down, they go down and make the entire space usable. That's all this week from Kia's Seltos. I liked it when it was released and I still like it now. As always, hit like, leave a comment, and just over there to subscribe.